The data types are available in C++. This also is exactly similar to the type of data types we have in C. You have simple data types and data types which are formed according to the user's need also. So, in simple data types you have integers for for whole numbers without decimals, you have floating point numbers to hold decimal values, and you have strings which are nothing but a sequence of characters. So, when you say integers, it is the same 2 bytes memory that is required, floating point is 4 bytes, and string you have a sequence of characters. So, based on the number of characters in the string, for one character you have 1 byte of memory allocation. In integer data types also you have character. Why we are bringing this character under this integer data type is because when you give an integer, when you say an integer, you can even represent a character value in that, because every integer has a ASCII value, every character is having an ASCII value. So, if you give the number 65, it identifies the alphabet A of the English language. So, that is why here character data type is brought under integer data type, because every character is identified by its integer ASCII value. Short is nothing but short int, which is a default type of integer. You have the common integer here, and long int, which is nothing but integers which have double the amount of storage. So, if you want a long integer, you have to explicitly define it. Boolean data type is a new data type that is introduced here. It can have only 2 values. It can either be true or false. It can be either 0 or 1. So, Boolean data type is mainly used in relational operators where the output of the comparison can be either true or false. So, this character can hold digits as well as symbols. You have short, int and long, which are numbers without decimals. So, these are the data types which are used for these particular type of values. So, if you are going to use a digit or a symbol, you can use a character data type. If you are going to give a value of a number without decimal, you can use these integer data types. Boolean has 2 values, as I said, true or false. Now, these floating point types, they are stored using the scientific notation or exponential form, as we say. So, here there are 4 things which have significance. One is the sign of the main number, the number before the decimal. You have the significant digits of the number. You have the sign of the power of 10, that is that E followed by the number represents the power of 10, and you have the power of 10. Some numbers need not be given the power of 10, they will not be having a negative value. So, we will see what are these examples which are exhibited in the scientific notation. First is the sign of the power of 10 is exhibited by that E followed by minus 1, which is nothing but is equivalent to 5.1 into 10 to the power minus 1. So, E represents the power of 10, the alphabet E represents the power of 10. The number that follows it represents whether it is a positive power raise or a negative power raise. For example, 57 is a positive number which you are representing it as 5.7. 5.7 into 10 will give you 57 as the part of the number before the decimal. So, that is how you exhibit floating point numbers, both negative as well as positive, using these exponential form. And then you have the sign of the number. Here you have 57, which is a positive number. So, when you are representing it in the floating point representation also, it is having a positive sign. So, these are the types of floating point representations available in C++. This is also similar to the types we have studied in C. So, in floating point types, again you have 3 classifications in that. They can have different ranges of values, like we have short int and long int to represent short integer numbers and bigger integer numbers. Like that, in floating point also you have different ranges of values that can be represented, which require different types of memory. So, in floating point data type, you are having the common float data type, the double, which requires double the amount of storage. So, for floating point operation, floating point data type, if you require 4 bytes, for double you require 8 bytes, and long double you require 10 bytes. So, it is only a different in the range of values that can be represented and the amount of storage that is needed. Then finally, the string type, this is programmer defined, like a programmer only define what is the value that is to be held in a string. Though you say character of 10, what does it indicate is how much of space it holds depends upon the values that are given by the user. And this requires the header file string.h. It is nothing but a sequence of characters, and these are examples which are given within double quotes. So, a character when put together, number of characters put together in consecutive locations form a string. To identify it as a string, you need the header file string.h.